Hi, my name is Siobhan Boyd-Nelson, and I serve as the Director of Development and External Relations at Equality, Ohio. I am happy to be joined here today by my wife, Maritza. Say hello.
Hello.
And we are going to be making some smoked baby-back ribs for Labor Day weekend. And it is the night before. We are actually going to cook the ribs, and we are prepping them so that they can sit overnight and get all yummy. And then we'll take them out in the morning and get them smoking. So I have here in front of me a rack of ribs, just under 3 pounds, about 2.8, 2.9 pounds. I've taken them out of their package, rinsed them off, and patted them dry. And now what I'm going to do is remove this little piece of skin that's back here along the back. So I have placed them on a tray that I have prepped with aluminum foil, and then I have some wax paper on top of that just so I can keep everything nice and neat. These can get messy. And I am trying to remove this piece back here that goes along the rib. And it's not absolutely necessary that you remove this piece. However, if you do, you're going to have a much nicer rib eating experience. Otherwise, it gets tough while you're cooking and just not as fun to eat the ribs. So why don't you make sure that it's fun? So what I'm doing is just trying to get my knife under there. Sometimes when there's a lot of curve to the blade, it's hard to get it under there and parallel to the bone. But there we go. And I'm just going to do this, kind of lifting it. It's a little bit slippery, as you can imagine, but just lifting it away from the meat and the bone right along back here, all the way down this end. And then I will do it down the other end as well.
Don't forget, you can book your pet's grooming appointment online or on the PetSmart app. For hours and location, press 1.
Now, as you can see here, we were able to get the piece going along the entire back and just slowly work it away from the ribs, going down the back, and you're able to pretty much take it off as a single sheet. If you can get a good hold on it, it's almost like getting a good hold on a tape roll or something like that. And there it is, all done. And you can go back along if there's any places where it seems to be still holding on, maybe a little thin area. I just score it with my paring knife. So if nothing else, it'll be easy to tear apart after it's cooked. All right. Okay, and now our next step is we are going to cut this slab in half. It's going to be easier to manipulate here while I'm seasoning it. It'll fit in our bags much more easily, and it'll be a lot easier to rotate on the grill so we can make sure that each piece gets to the right level of doneness. We don't want everything to be close to the smoke the entire time. So I'm just going to find a place about halfway down. Right here, I think, is what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to do it about halfway between the two bones. I've got a bone here and a bone there, and right here at halfway is where I'm going to cut. Almost all the way through, and there we go. All right. We are done with our knife, and we're gonna wash our hands. Okay, our next step is seasoning. This is the very fun part. We like to use Famous Dave's rib rub, which we get right here at our local Meijer. Famous Dave's, some of our favorite ribs to get when we are eating out. So just kind of an easy choice there. You can absolutely make your own seasoning. I suggest some salt, some brown sugar, garlic powder, maybe some paprika, maybe a little bit of dry mustard, and some citrus in there if you can. So we are starting our seasoning on the back just because the back is up. And yes, I do season the back of the ribs. Why not? There is meat back here. So yes, let's season. And then one hand, as you can see, is for shaking. That's the right hand. And then the left hand is for rubbing. One hand shakes, the other hand rubs. We always get a little bit of seasoning out here on the ends as well. Then we'll do the second half. Get those ends, those ends. All right. Take our tongs and flip carefully. There we go.
Smells good already.
All right, and we're gonna put our tongs right over there. And there is a little bit of a tendon I can see here, something that's gonna be tough to eat, so I am gonna go ahead and cut that off. Let's grab our knife. Cut that, I want it to be fun to eat it all. Put that over there. Out of the way. All right, and then we're gonna do the same thing on this side. Like I said, I believe in being generous with your seasoning. You're going to enjoy it. If you're gonna go through the time and the effort to pre-season and let it sit overnight and then smoke the ribs, you might as well season them well. Make it worth your while. Okay, that's all there is to it. Then we are going to wash our hands one more time and then get these ribs in our plastic bags. All right, we are now just going to put our ribs in the plastic bag. I'm going to put this bigger piece in first. Go. In goes the first, and in goes the second very nicely. Give that a little rub at the top so it doesn't get messy in the fridge. And also squeeze out any air. All right, and that is our first slab. I will do the same thing here with our second slab, and these will go in the fridge overnight before we start the smoker around noon tomorrow.
All right, so here we are with day 2. It's now time for me to take over and to start smoking the ribs. So we've pulled the ribs out. We're gonna let these, we don't wanna put cold ribs directly on the grill, so we're just gonna let these start to warm up at the same time that we warm up the grill, get them near room temperature. While we're prepping the grill, we are also going to get our wood chips together. These are gonna give the ribs a nice smoky wood flavor. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a few handfuls of the wood chips. We're just gonna soak them in water. That way when we put them onto the coals on the smoker, they just start to release that nice smoky flavor into the mix. And with pork, most people tend to like something that's going to give it a bit of a sweet, smoky flavor. So I've seen people use, apple. These are Jack Daniels, give a little bit of that whiskey smoke. We're actually a little low on these, so we're gonna add some hickory, give it a little bit of that flavor. So you can experiment with different types of wood to give it different flavors to the smoke and see how that affects your meat. All right, so we've just added a little bit of water to that. As I said, it'll help it to steam. We also don't want the wood to just burn and catch on fire. Like I said, we really want it to slowly roast and release that smoky flavor to the meat. All right, let's head outside and get the smoker started. And when it comes to smoking ribs, we're aiming to cook them at a temperature between about 200 and 250. In order to do that, we're gonna need a lot of charcoal and we're gonna need to keep it really hot. So we're going to start with our handy chimney smoker here. This gives us the opportunity to get the flames lit without adding any of that nasty, gritty flavor from adding any oils or chemicals to get our charcoals lit. At the same time, it's also going to get those coals nice and super hot before we put them in the smoker. I'm going to leave that out for later because I know with the size of our smoker we might actually need to add some more coals to this later just to keep the fire going. The whole process is going to take about 6 hours of smoking time. So the beautiful thing about the smoker or the chimney smoker here is that we won't need to use lighter fluid. Instead, I'm just going to take this old package of charcoal bricks, just rip off some paper. I'm going to use that as kindling for our chimney here. And that way we don't have any of the strange flavor that lighter fluid can sometimes add to your food. All right, there we go. You can tell you've got it lit as that smoke starts to rise out of there. So you're just gonna let that smoke give the coals a chance to get that nice, hot, bright orange glow. And then as soon as that's ready, we'll be ready to start the smoker. All right, so our chimney is nice and hot. Those coals are glowing bright orange. And so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and load them up here into the smoker box. Now that chimney is gonna be quite hot, so we're gonna use some special gloves called UGG gloves to grab a hold of it. You wanna be very careful with this part. Make sure all our coals are in there. Sometimes they like to fall over to the side and off the grate there. Now any pros out there, you might have a much larger chimney smoker box to work with, but this will definitely get us started. So we're gonna close this up, let the grill start to warm up. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the wood chips and throw a handful of those on there as well. And once the grill's made it up to about 250, we're gonna go ahead and add the meat. All right, at this point, you can probably see that grill is definitely starting to smoke, and that's exactly what we want. We're gonna add some of these wood chips to add some of that to the flavor. We're already getting pretty close to 200, so here pretty soon we'll be able to add the meat to the grill and the slow part begins. And with those wood chips, we're just going to do a handful at a time and just let it add a little bit of flavor to the smoke. Right, we head over to check on everything. We can see our temperature staying right just under 250, which is exactly where we want it. So that is perfect. Check and see how our meat's doing. As you can see, the smoker is definitely a long process. I'm gonna go ahead and grab our tongs and just rotate these around while we're checking on everything. Check our coals, make sure we still got that nice and hot. Make sure those keep smoking. Good stuff there. All right, we're just gonna rotate these around so that no one piece cooks too much faster than the others. Excellent. And as long as that temperature stays up around 250, you'll see it drop every time we open up the grill. But as long as it stays between 2 and 250, I feel good about that, and I won't add any more coals to it. But we'll check on it again in about 30 minutes, see if we need to add any more coals to the smoker. If we do, we should just be able to add them. They'll catch fire just from the heat there, and we'll add some more wood chips periodically as well. All right, so as we can see here, our temperature is starting to get a little bit low, so we're going to use this as an opportunity to stoke the fire a little bit. It's also been another 30 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and rotate our meat just to make sure that nothing is getting too close to the smoker over on this side. As you can see, it's already just starting to look pretty good over here. As you can tell, I'm not too concerned about flipping anything quite at this point. It's really just about letting that meat just smoke and just absorb all that good flavor. Just gonna add some more coals to this just to keep that fire nice and hot, keeping our temperature between 200 and 250. Going to go ahead and add some more chips to some wood chips to the smoker as well. That's where a lot of that smoke comes from, and that's what's going to give the meat some flavor besides just the indirect heat from using the smoker box. You see, we're just keeping some wood chips prepared here, keeping them just kind of soaking in water. Like I said, we don't really want them to burn. We really just want them to smoke up and add that flavor to the meat. Go. Let that heat up, and that smoke will start coming back out of that chimney stack here pretty soon. You can probably already see some of it coming up there. And we'll set our timer for another 30 minutes and continue to be patient on this fine Saturday. All right, so as we can see, our temperature's hovering just over 200, so we're going to continue to stoke our fire and add some more coals and wood chips. Also gonna check on our ribs, and those are looking really good already. Let's go ahead and rotate those around. Just want to keep our heat and smoke going, so we'll just continue to add coals and wood chips as necessary. Let's grab our wood chips. There we go, nice and smoky. Coming down to the wire here, you see we're gonna have to add a little bit more to our smoker to get our temperature to stay up. As you can see, these ribs are starting to look really, really good. So we're gonna go ahead and take this opportunity to rotate them around again. I'm gonna let these smoke probably about another hour, and then I'm gonna start giving them the barbecue sauce. But look at that, that is, you see the way that's already pulling from the bone, just perfect. That is exactly what we want. You can see how quickly we go through those coals, so we definitely want to keep that heat up, keep that smoke going. Definitely takes a lot more charcoal to smoke the ribs this way, but it's so worth it. So get our wood chips, add those. Go, a few handfuls of that, get our smoke going again. Yeah, coming together quite nicely. You can probably see that smoke starting to come out of that chimney again. So, all right, almost there, almost ready for sauce. Let's give it about another hour. We'll keep checking on it every 30 minutes. All right, if you've been patient, now we're getting to the fun part. It's time to start getting some barbecue sauce on these ribs. Of course, this batch is almost empty, so we're actually gonna switch to another bottle here. Now, barbecue sauce, of course, is all to taste. I like my ribs kind of saucy. Other people prefer just a nice flavor of the meat, especially after it's smoked all day like we've done. So we are going to start basting these ribs in barbecue sauce just to add that extra flavor. You can always come back and add more sauce later. So let's head outside and do that. Now, doesn't that look amazing? And keep rotating. I do want to keep my heat going for just another hour. That. You see that meat pulling away from the bone there. That's exactly what we want. We're just going to take our basting brush here. Just start to slab some barbecue sauce onto these ribs. Perfect. Cannot wait to come and taste these. Well, let's have it for the big reveal. How did our smoked barbecue ribs come out? Oh, that looks like perfection, if I do say so myself. I cannot wait to dig in. Oh yeah. 6 hours later, but that looks so worth it. Get that nice and tender. You see the meat pulling away from the bone there. That is perfection. That's what we're aiming for. Oh yeah. And there you have it, folks.